this module we'll be looking at politics and power. How have anthropologists viewed the origins of human political history? What is the state? How is globalization affecting the state? What is the relationship among politics, the state, violence, and war? How do people mobilize power outside of the state's control? We have seen throughout this semester how power is an essential dynamic of human relationships. You may recall that we defined power as the ability to bring about change through action or influence. In this sense, a change is any action that would not have occurred otherwise. So as your professor, I have power. If you want to pass this class, you have to do the readings, participate in discussions, and study for exams, all things that you are unlikely to do on your own. Most colleges and universities also see to it that students have power. If I give you a failing grade on an exam, but you actually got the question right, you can dispute your grade. Our school also has numerous student organizations and student government bodies that work with administration to make changes in favor of student interests. Working towards your degree is also a process of gaining power. Once you graduate from college, you will have greater prestige and power in our society. You will have the ability to apply for jobs for which you would not have been qualified for before. You will have a higher earning potential compared to those who do not go to college. Power is inherent in virtually every human interaction, and thus it is inherent in our cultural systems. While we have talked about power many times in this class, politics is a new topic for us. From an anthropological perspective, the study of politics is the study of how we organize and regulate power. Political organizations among human culture is a diverse and fascinating subject of the study. We are not talking about studying political parties like the Democrats or the Republicans. Instead, we are looking at how social relationships are managed among hunter-gatherers, how a Polynesian chief maintains control over his populace, how individual human beings can affect the course of their government. Every act of power is either carried out within political systems or contrary to political systems. Thus, the anthropological study of power also includes the study of oppression and revolution, that is, the ways in which we negotiate our systems of power. A series of protests and revolutions occurred throughout the Arab world in 2011. Protests began first in Tunisia after a man named Mohammed Bouazizi set himself on fire on the steps of the government building in protest. Bouazizi was a street vendor who sold produce in the capital city. Street vendors in Tunisia often faced harassment by local police officers. Vendors were often forced to pay bribes to the police just to sell their wares. After a lifetime of harassment, Bouazizi was confronted by police on the morning of December 17, 2010. Where he was unable to pay a bribe, he was harassed further by the police. His fruits and vegetables were knocked over into the street, and he may or may not have been slapped and spit upon by the police. Witnesses disagree. What definitely did happen, however, is that the police confiscated Bouazizi's scales, which were an essential tool for him to sell his wares to customers. Bouazizi went to the governor to protest and was turned away. He returned shortly thereafter with a can of gasoline, proceeded to dump the gasoline on himself, then lit himself on fire. He allegedly yelled out, "How do you expect me to make a living?" Bouazizi's act of defiance set off a wave of protest in Tunisia, which quickly spread to Egypt and then other Arab countries. By 2012, 4 governments had been overthrown by protesters, and many more still faced considerable threats from their people. The people of these Arab nations had had enough of military and quasi-military dictators. The resolution of the Arab Spring, however, has been considerably more complicated than its origins. While several repressive governments have been overthrown, the people are now faced with the struggle of creating new governments. The creation of political order is not simple or easy. It is easy to forget in the United States, but it took 11 years between 1776 Declaration of Independence and the eventual adoption of the United States Constitution. Power and politics are among the most contentious topics in all human culture, and those who have power do not give it up easily. How have anthropologists viewed the origins of human political history? In particular, beginning in the 1960s, anthropologists began to be increasingly interested in political structures. This interest was due in part to the political complexities involved in the end of the colonial era that followed the end of World War II. As old nation-states gave up their colonies and new nation-states emerged, the political process was more important than ever. It was also in the hands of many people who had never before been allowed to control the political organizations.